guys! So in today's video, I'm doing what is effectively my second Plan With Me video. This one is for September of 2018. And in this video, I'm incorporating some of the things I sort of talked about in my last Plan With Me video, as well as the most recent Michael's haul I posted. I am pretty much starting off a brand new insert in my traveler's notebook, and instead of the plain paper I had in my last video, it is now a dot grid, and I am much happier with the results of the dot grid as opposed to the plain paper. I was able to get results that were a little more clean and crisp, things that I was happier with. And I've also incorporated drawing into this Plan With Me. My last video was a little bit of an exploration into how I was going to format my traveler's notebook because I hadn't done a lot with it. But now that I've had some time to adjust, I thought it would be fun to kind of do some little drawings of some ravens and their feathers. So without further ado, let's get into it. So as I mentioned in the introduction to this video, one of the things I really wanted to start incorporating into my Plan With Me's, starting with September, were some drawings. And there were several different reasons for this. The first of which being that it simply gave me another way, a different outlet to practice my illustration, which I could always use more of. And the second was simply that it made the spreads look a little bit more interesting, and I thought that they would be more enjoyable to watch be set up. And for the month of September, I did decide to use the theme of ravens. The reasoning behind this was simply that I had been drawing some ravens in my sketchbook, and I liked them and the way that they looked so much that I wanted to draw more of them. However, on the topic of themes, if there are any ideas you have for either October or some other future month that you would like to see me draw, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I will consider incorporating them into a future Plan With Me video. So the first spread that you're going to see me do is what I'm considering to be the title page. I don't actually write September anywhere on it, but that is because I have plans and thoughts to add some tabs instead of actual titles, so that I can easily flip to the month that I'm looking for. So on the left-hand page of this very first spread, I decided to do a very basic, straightforward view of a raven, and it is perched on some type of branch or post. For the most part, I have decided to keep these illustrations in black and white. And my main reasoning for this is simply that I couldn't decide on what to color them with. Because of the paper in this traveler's notebook insert specifically, I didn't really want to use watercolor, and that is how I add color to most of my illustrations. I also didn't want to use alcohol markers because they would definitely soak through, and in the context of a planner, that is not very preferable. So if you have any supplies that you use specifically to color in your planners, especially larger areas like this bird would be, I would love to hear from you, and I'm definitely open to advice. Now on the right hand side of this spread is where I decided to choose a quote, and I also drew a few little feathers to just add a little bit more decoration to that spread. And the quote that I chose to use was related to birds and flying because of my theme, and I just wanted to keep everything pretty cohesive. And the quote is by Alfred Tennyson, if that's how you say that. And he says, "The shell must break before the bird can fly." Now, I may have mentioned this in my last Plan With Me video, but I really enjoy incorporating quotes into my spreads, especially my monthly/goal type spreads, because it gives me a little bit of a point of reference for my actions. So if I was frustrated with something that was going on in my life, if I felt like nothing was going well, I could look at this quote and kind of refocus. And because of this, I do tend to pick quotes that I think will be relevant instead of things that are just thematically correct. However, if I can get both, that's always a bonus. So moving on to my next spread for this month, this is much simpler in comparison, and this is my brain dump page. If there's one thing I'm always going to need in order to try to keep track of whatever is going on in my brain, it's definitely a page or spread where I can just write whatever comes to mind. The number of ideas I have on a day-to-day basis are very high, and I tend to use post-it notes to capture most of those. However, if my planner is nearby, I will write those random ideas down in my planner. So having a spread specifically dedicated to that is something that I really enjoy doing. I also have different methods of organizing my ideas, things like art ideas and business concepts and writing ideas. And if you guys are interested in that, I would love to make a video about how I keep track of all of that. And in order to decorate this spread, I simply drew a single feather in the corner of the right-hand page. Moving on again, we get to our goals and deadlines pages. And on this page, I also drew another raven. This is more of a portrait view, I suppose you could call it, at the bottom of the left-hand page. And I kind of faked some fancy writing at the top because my lettering still leaves a lot to be desired. However, that's kind of why I'm doing these Plan With Me videos, so I can kind of document my progress in a sense. And in order to finish off the deadlines page, I simply wrote the numbers 1 through 30 to kind of represent each day of the month so that I could have a place to write down my deadlines that wasn't on my calendar. Speaking of my calendar, I also want to mention that there is a reason I didn't draw a calendar in this Plan With Me specifically. And if you saw my last haul video, you will have seen that the set of inserts I bought for my traveler's notebook came with 3 different insides. And I mentioned that I might try using the monthly insert in place of drawing calendars. And I have been experimenting with that, and I have really been enjoying it. So that's why it's not a part of this video. The next set of pages I'm doing are not necessarily a spread in the same sense that my previous ones were, because they both work individually. And starting off with the left-hand page, this is my August month in review. Now, I am a pretty future-oriented person. I tend to look ahead more often than I look back, and sometimes that can be kind of detrimental to my growth. Because of this, I wanted to have a dedicated page where I specifically looked back at August and looked at my achievements, what worked, and what didn't. And so on this page, I created little sections for each of those categories where I could write down and analyze my previous month. And as of the recording of this video, I actually have started to kind of fill in this page and look at what my month of August was like. And honestly, it's very encouraging to see a list of everything that you've achieved. And so if you're not doing this, I would recommend at least trying it because it's been very motivating. And the right-hand page that I'm working on here is a page specifically dedicated to YouTube ideas. I am almost constantly coming up with new ideas of things that I want to do on this channel in the future. And because of this, I wanted to have a specific page for YouTube videos. I did this last month as well, and it's nice to kind of separate out my unrelated to YouTube ideas and my YouTube ideas, because my brain dump pages can be so unorganized that it's kind of hard to know exactly what's happening. So having a page specifically for YouTube allows me to kind of organize my thoughts and have something to look back at when I'm trying to come up with a schedule for this channel. And the final spread that I'm working on in this Plan With Me is something that's very relevant to only a few months, and that is my Inktober plan. Now I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a tease about my Inktober. Last year, on my other channel, I did a video for every day of Inktober. Now I haven't quite decided if I'm going to do this definitively, but it's definitely an idea I've been throwing around, so if you're interested, you should let me know. Because it is a lot of work, but I also think that it's very rewarding in the long run. And the final bit of this spread was a quote that I put on the right-hand page, and kind of in a similar theme to birds/flying, I chose a quote by Amelia Earhart, who says, "The most difficult thing is the ability to act. The rest is merely tenacity." And I just thought that that quote was really relevant to the idea of Inktober, especially if I decide to do a video for every day of the month. And I just wanted to incorporate that so that I had something to think about when I was deciding whether or not to act. So I hope you guys enjoyed this Plan With Me video for the month of September. I had a lot of fun putting it together, even more fun than I had last month, and I think that has to do with the fact that I did incorporate drawings. Thank you all so much for watching. You can subscribe to see more videos like this or very different from this in the future, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.